In this video, we are going to begin discussing MATLAB and its various functions. So what does MATLAB really mean? Well, MATLAB stands for Matrix Laboratory. So you see MATLAB, Matrix Laboratory, and is a computer program that creates an environment to perform calculations and write programs. Okay, so the reason why, again, it's called Matrix Laboratory, or for short MATLAB, is because the way it performs calculations is based on an array of values. So as we kind of go through our introduction to MATLAB and its uses, you'll find that the way we define things in MATLAB is really based on creating arrays of values, which again, an array of values is simply a matrix, okay? So in MATLAB, we have three primary windows, okay? So we're gonna say there are three primary windows that you may need to work with, okay? The first is called the command window. We're going to explore this one first. And in this one, we can enter commands and data. Now, the command window is a lot like a fancy calculator. So when we're operating completely in the command window, it's really going to feel more like using a sophisticated calculator. So that's why we're going to start with the command window in our next video. Next is what's called the graphics window. So the graphics window is used for plotting, okay? So if you want to, plot some graphs or mathematical curves, plot functions, you would use the graphics window, and we're going to explore that as well, of course. And then the third window is called the edit window. Okay? Now, the edit window is used to create what are called M files. Okay? Now, the edit window is the window that we're going to use when we want to write actual programs. So I'm going to put ... used to write code, okay, used to write programs. So we're going to start by talking about the command window and the graphics window, and then we'll get to the edit window a little bit later. So let's go one at a time through these. Let's talk about the command window right now, all right? Command window. When you first open MATLAB, when you straight up open the code, open the program, what you are first opening is the command window. So this is just, what appears when you first open MATLAB is the command window, okay? Now, if you look at the command window, which again, I'm going to show you this in a later video, but if you're looking in the command window, you're going to see these two little arrows that look like this, okay? Two little, sideways carrots. These are called, or this together is called the command prompt. Command prompt, okay? And this is just a line where you can type things, okay? If you want to type a simple calculation, it's just creating a single line for you to type things to perform a calculation, okay? So that's called a command prompt, all right? Involved with this is the next sentence. So MATLAB automatically, let's see if I can spell automatically correctly, automatically assigns a variable called ANS if a variable is not defined. So this sentence sounds maybe more complicated than it actually is. All I'm saying here is that when you type something in the command prompt line of MATLAB, if you have not defined a variable for what you're typing, it's just going to create an automatic variable that's a default, and it's called ANS for answer, okay? So for example, if you typed 2 plus 2 in a command prompt line, if you just typed literally 2 plus 2 and hit enter, the next line that would display would be ANS equals 4, okay? And again, the reason for that is MATLAB will define an automatic variable if you don't define one for it, okay? And we'll see this in an example here in a few minutes, okay? The next thing you want to do is we want to talk about something called terminating echo printing, okay? So I'm going to say we can terminate what's called echo printing using a semicolon. You know, a semicolon looks like this, okay? Now, echo printing, what that means is echo printing is when you type something and you hit enter, echo printing will just repeat the thing you typed, okay? It'll like display what you typed again. And so if you want to prevent echo printing, you just put a semicolon after the things you type, okay? And again, we'll show some examples of this in just a second, okay? The next thing we want to discuss is MATLAB. MATLAB is what's called case sensitive, okay? What does case sensitive mean? Well, it means that it distinguishes between capital letters and lowercase letters, okay? So if you use little a, like lowercase a, it will distinguish that as something different than capital A, all right? So case sensitive. So it will understand that a lowercase letter is a different term or a different variable compared to its uppercase counterpart, okay? So just keep that in mind. The next thing I'll define here, if I can get this iPad to scroll, there we go, is that the term CLC will clear the screen, okay? So if you type in the command prompt CLC, it's going to wipe out everything on your screen and just give you a fresh blank screen. So that's useful if you have kind of a lot of random clutter in your command window and you just want to kind of get rid of it all. You can type CLC and then that'll wipe out your all the clutter there, okay? The next thing we're going to say is MATLAB has several predefined terms, okay? For example, such as pi, you know? If you are using pi, you don't need to type 3.14159 blah blah blah, okay? You just type pi and it understands that that's pi. Another predefined term is the imaginary term I equals square root of -1. It understands that as little I. And there's others as well, but these are just two common ones, okay? So keep that in mind. You don't need to always type out everything in MATLAB. It may have a predefined term, okay? The next thing we'll talk about is what's called format long, okay? So something called format long will display values to 15 decimal places. Okay? However, the default is what's called format short, okay, which only displays 4 decimal places, okay? And then I'll go ahead and make a note here. I want to change colors to emphasize it. See page 30 of the handout for other format options. Okay, so you saw that I gave you a handout. Now it's been a week and a half ago, and I told you to read that handout. Okay, so page 30 of the handout I gave you has a lot of these different format options, but the ones that we're gonna explicitly talk about are format long and format short for now. Okay, and then of course what you're really interested in is mathematical operations. Okay, so let's talk about that real quickly. Mathematical operations. Okay, well, these are mostly what you're used to, plus sign, minus sign, multiplication is an asterisk, divide is a /, raised to a power is a caret top. Now you really need to be using a period in front of these, okay? So especially the caret top. So I'm going to say place a period in front of the raised to the power when you're using it to indicate element by element operations. Okay, so that would mean you need to put a period in front of that caret top. Now we'll talk more about what that means as we move through, but that's just do it for now. Okay, the colon operator. Let's talk about a colon. Okay, so a colon separating two numbers will generate all the numbers between them using an increment of 1. Okay. Now, so what that means is let's say that I say D equals 1:5. If I evaluate that, what that really is going to display is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the colon here will automatically generate all the integer numbers by an increment of 1 in between the two that I've defined. Okay, now what if you want to display numbers with a different increment? Okay, so in that case you define 3 numbers. So I'm going to write that here. I'm going to say a colon separating 3 values will generate numbers between the first and third numbers with an increment of the second number. Okay, and then also negative increments could also be used if you want. Negative increments would count backwards, okay? So we'll make a note here. Negative increments can also be used, okay? So for example, you know, if I say, you know, C equals 1 colon 0.2 colon 2, you tell me, what is this going to print out? Maybe pause the video. I'm about to tell you. This would print out 1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, and then 2.0. Okay? What if we said, you know, E equals 2 colon negative 0.2 colon 1? Well, again, a negative increment, we just talked about this, a negative increment will kind of count backwards. So you would say E equals 2, 1.8, 1.6, 1.4, 1.2, and 1.0. All right. So put a 1.0 here too. So this is, you know, how you can list out lists of numbers with a certain increment. Okay. Couple more lines, then we're going to open up MATLAB and do some quick, you know, quick examples. So character strings, okay? Character, I spell that right, C-H-A-R-A, nope, C-H-A-R-A-C-T-E-R, character strings, also called alphanumerics. Alphanumerics are words or, you know, phrases that can be defined by enclosing in a single quote. Okay, so if you put a single quotation, then you can type words, okay? So MATLAB, you know, of course, we're going to more often use MATLAB for calculations, but we can use MATLAB to display words, phrases, sentences. You just put them in a single quote, okay? And then, of course, MATLAB, if you want to display any of MATLAB's built-in functions, what you can do is you type help lfun to display the list of all MATLAB built-in functions. So if you're wondering, you know, how do you generate a sine function, you know, obviously that one's easy. You can type in SIN, but you can find the sine operator in help lfun. Okay, so that's going to conclude this video. And our next video, I'm going to open up MATLAB on my computer and I'm going to go through some of these things that we just talked about in this video.